The agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome our newest board member, Dionisi Torres, who's here for her first meeting tonight.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And now I'm going to hand it over to Tracy.
Okay, so because we recently had elections, I will be serving as the moderator of the election of the Board of Education officers. The first order of business is, do we have a motion for the nomination of the Board of Education officers?
I would like to make a motion to nominate a full slate of Lynn Ide as chair, Brendan O'Neill as vice chair, and Ilda Ray as secretary.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? And, Ilda does have her hand up. Okay. Any abstentions or any votes against the nomination? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, and we look forward to the next phase of our work together as a full 9-member Board of Education. We've been without a 9th member for about a year and a half now, I think, so it's been a while. So we're happy to have us all here, and as chair, I want to thank everybody, and I also would like to say that we're going to be keeping the same committee chair appointments that we've had for the past couple of years. There will be no changes on that front, although I do encourage board members, if there are different committees that you'd like to be on, working with the chair of those committees, please indicate to me if you'd formally like to be on a committee or not. If you'd like to stay on the same committees that you've been on, could you please confirm that with me? Not here now, but at the end of the meeting. And as everybody knows on the board, we're all welcome to attend any committee meetings and participate in those committee discussions as board members. So there's no prohibition if you don't sign up for a certain committee that you can't attend any of the other committees and participate in those discussions. And there are several board members who I want to recognize as being stalwart attendees at multiple meetings, and you all deserve a lot of credit for that in these volunteer positions that you're in. So Dionisi, we can talk after the meeting about any questions you have about the committees, and so that's where we'll leave it at that, okay? Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes, and I'd entertain a motion from somebody to approve the meeting minutes of November 15th.
So moved.
Motion made by Katina.
Second.
Seconded by Alicia. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of those minutes, please indicate by raising your hand. Are there any abstentions? Dionisi, you would abstain because you weren't there. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Or anybody opposed? No, okay. Now it's time for public comment. Is there anybody who would like to speak during public comment, online or in person? Nobody online, nobody in person has signed up. Okay, there'll be opportunity at the end of the meeting if anybody would like to come up and speak during public comment. Board Chair's report, I don't have anything new to report at this point in time. And I'm going to hand it right over to Dr. Youngberg to give us the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. First up on my report is the biweekly check-in on attendance and discipline. We're actually really proud of our attendance data. We're seeing attendance rates increase in all of our schools, and our chronic absenteeism rates has been significantly decreased. I think Neil just did some analysis today and shared with the leadership team that we're down somewhere between 10 and 15% as a district when compared to the same time last year. So very proud of that. We continue to focus on discipline and trying our best to limit the number of in and out of school suspensions, but we are, as I've shared with the board, experiencing or watching our students demonstrate at times some pretty significant or serious behaviors. So we're trying to do both at the same time. When as you'll notice in the board packet, I compared the time frame from last year to this year. We have fewer behavioral incidents. We have a few more in-school suspensions, but remember, if we have to make a decision about where students end up from a behavior standpoint, being in the in-school suspension room is far better than being out of school. We've reduced the number of out-of-school suspensions when compared to last year, and we have fewer expulsions at this point in time. I don't know if there's any specific questions about attendance or discipline data.
Mary.
Yeah, I'm just wondering the effect of the out-of-school suspensions on the attendance rate and the absenteeism.
It is true that if a student is suspended out of school, it does count against us on attendance. But again, the reasons we're suspending students out of school are those situations where there's a fight or physical aggression or some safety concern. So we're following the state's recommendations and trying to make sure everyone feels safe in the buildings.
Any other questions on that? Mark.
Thank you. I can't remember if we have it or not. Since Barrows is a magnet school, do we have an option of having the child be disenrolled if there's a disciplinary problem?
So we would follow the state statute on an expulsion. I don't know what you mean by disenrolled.
I mean, I know, for instance, if there's a problem at the tech schools, they basically throw them out of the tech school and send them back to the regular high school. Do we have that same option in that it's a magnet school?
It sounds a little sketchy to me. I'd have to look into it. I don't think we disenroll students at Barrows. We follow the same procedures for our out-of-district residents as, our out-of-district students as we do for our residents. But I can look into it if you want me to pull up some historical data and see if we've done anything like that.
Actually, I'm not that critical worried about it. I just was wondering that. And do we know of the numbers here for Charles Barrows? Are those Windham students or out-of-district students?
So I'd have to pull the data and look at each incident. I could get the board that data, but we didn't do an analysis on, 2/3 of the building is residents of Windham, so it's more than likely the students are represented in this data, but we can certainly go incident by incident and get the board information about that. Okay, thanks.
Katina.
I just wanted to ask, do we have any procedure to welcome back the students, like some sort of meeting or counseling or follow-up?
You mean once they've been?
Yes, out school suspended?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
okay.
believe there's a procedure in every school to have the students and their parents part of a meeting once they've been suspended.
Thank you.
Any other questions about attendance or discipline? Okay, next on my list is information about the kindergarten legislation that is going to change the age in which next year's students can be entered into kindergarten. You're actually going to have a presentation by our Director of Elementary Education, Liz Baumgardner. So you probably will just save your questions for after we have that presentation about that legislation. Does that make sense? Okay.
Sounds good.
Next up in your packet is a list of updates from the Equity and Multilingual Department from Beth Brunet, the director. I'd like to invite her to the podium because I'm sure there will be questions, or she can potentially offer insight into the information that's shared in the packet. So the first piece of information relates to converting the Early Childhood Center's current program from a two-way dual to one-way dual. So you want to take it from there, Beth? If they have any questions about that, or you want to give some?
Like me to speak
ins-
first?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so you've got a chance, can you
Yeah.
hear me? You've gotten a chance to read over the, okay. So, so our biggest hope for doing this change would really be to give more seats to students who are in need of bilingual education more, right? So our English learners as compared to our non-English learners who are in the two-way program currently, right? So I think if you remember the workshop that I did a couple of years ago now, I think the major difference between a two-way program and a one-way program, right, is that the two-way program also includes your English native speakers who are learning Spanish alongside with your Spanish speakers who are learning English as a second language. In our one-way program, it is built entirely for English learners. So by converting our two preschool classrooms, we would be opening up more seats for students who have never heard or learned English before. And so they would have the same exposure as the other students, right? They would have this chance to be in this it's like an 80-20 program right now, right? 80% of the time the native language, 20% of the time the second language. So we would like to open more seats up for students who may need English language learning time as compared to having more of an enrichment program and seats open for students who are native English speakers to be enriched with a second language of Spanish, if that makes sense. And so really it's just meeting more need, I think, is what we're aiming to do.
It's an equity issue, right?
Right, and the truth is we
Access.
have many more language learners at the preschool level. We could really, in a dream world, we'd have 5 pre-K classrooms for all of these students who are learning English for the first time. We have 2 right now. So what we'd like to do is open up more of those seats to students who are in greater need of the time in English.
Thanks, Beth. And the second, oh, there's already a question.
Ready?
I just, so part of my question on that is, I would like as a board member to know more about what the need is, not tonight, not right now.
Yep.
But I think it would be very helpful for the board to have a full understanding of need for English language learners in our district. I know we've had various reports, and when we see the school descriptions, what the classroom breakdown, we see which class, how many classrooms in each school are for English, dual language or compañeros or whatever. But I think an understanding, especially of what's in the preschool,
Right,
would
so-
be very helpful to us.
And we often don't include them in our presentations for you because bilingual education or identifying English learners is not mandated at the preschool level by the feds, right? Federal law does not mandate us to do that. And so we actually have gone kind of above and beyond by including preschool compañeros. That's really advanced for a lot of places. But we want to meet more of the language need. And so, yeah, I think getting the preschool numbers to you, it is going to be a little different, though, because the identification of students by the state criteria as English learners does not happen till the spring of pre-K or early kindergarten. So we are exploring, we have a kind of an exploratory year ahead of us to figure out what's the entry criteria for these 2 classrooms. And then I think presenting the numbers and what the possible decisions are would be a
Right,
great.
at some point when it's right and it makes sense to get that more, to understand that more. And also, am I safe in thinking that if we were able to meet the needs of those English language learners, expand slots for them, that would potentially put them in a better position as they get into kindergarten?
So, I mean, I think the exposure to the second language that they're going to be dropped into in kindergarten is a good thing to start in preschool. As a linguistics person, though, I would say this, that the age of 3 to 5 is really the most critical time for their first language development. So if I was not a Windham Public Schools employee, I might even be thinking of a different model, right, for the youngest students. What we can offer right now is an early entry that exposes them to English a little bit earlier than kindergarten. And so they won't be as lost in hearing it for the first time in some cases at the start of kindergarten.
Leonisi, you need to press your mic.
Thank you. As a curriculum instruction background major and a specification in bilingual bicultural education, the time that you're being exposed to the second language, that you're learning it, the longest, the most intense, the better. At certain age, which is the window of opportunities, that's what you're talking about. So there's certain time that your brain catches it better, in a better way, in an easier, faster way. So I totally believe that the longer or the earlier that you're exposed to that second language, so better for you to, have even better outcomes when you're older.
Sure. There's a lot of debate around the 3 to 5, right, age, because we really want to make sure that the student's first language is solid without starting a second language and not attending to the first. But I do think that we have a number of supports in place at the preschool. I think the interesting question is about need, because if you really look at our preschool, many more than 2 classrooms worth of kids, numbers of kids, right, need a bilingual instructional model. And so that's where we can talk about what's needed in the future. Right now, we'd like to use our 2 classrooms to support our English learners better. And so then we can go from there. Yep.
Thanks, Beth.
And we'll be able to talk more about this at another point. We can schedule more time on the agenda to have a full presentation and discussion.
Sure.
Later in the year, maybe.
Then the next point in Beth's update is about the convergence of the one-way and two-way dual programs here in this building, Windham Middle School, and the naming of that new program, because they are converging or have converged. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
So the middle school update, and if you've seen our most recent podcast, right, between Tracy and our department, we've mentioned this. The middle school update is that I think you are aware that Dos Rios is expanding, which is our newer program. And that means that it comes together with compañeros in the middle school. And you wouldn't typically run 2 separate dual language programs in the same building, right? Once they come together, we actually do a rebalancing, which serves quite a few kids. So we combine the students from both programs. By 5th grade, some students will start to prefer English in an English-dominant society, even in a dual language program that's very strong. So we end up with students who are Spanish-dominant newer arrivals in our one-way program and some English-dominant kids in some cases. We take both, like the student groups from both programs, and we do a rebalancing, and we combine the students. And so we form a much bigger dual language program in the middle school. This is our first year where we have all 5 classes from the elementary schools rising. In 7th grade, Natchog was 1 year ahead of everyone else because they did not skip a year. They continued growing their program every year. In 7th grade, we have 3 classes. And so when these 2 programs come together for equity and belonging's sake, it really makes sense to rename the program to have one name, not Compañeros or Dos Rios, but their own name, and make it a middle grades program. And something that we explored with several parent groups at every elementary school. We held some meetings last year. We actually let parents and students who attended the meetings propose the names. And so what we would like to do after tonight's update is to really put the names that were suggested out to the 6th grade group, who will be the first year of the new program, and have them sort of vote on it and let it be a student-named program. So but I've kind of staggered this so that information came to you first, and then we take action. So that's the update on the middle school.
And then I think you have an invitation.
I might have an invitation.
I think so.
So I have really good ideas around 1:30 at night, I think. And so one of my big ideas was to think about who we would like to be the MCs for the 30th anniversary celebration, which we've pinned down now to May 4th. I think I announced that earlier.
Big, though. It says 2023.
Oh, so sorry. One number off. I feel like I was almost on top of it. So in 2024, on May 4th, we'll try to hold our celebration at Jolson Square. And I'd like to invite 2 MCs. I have a commitment from one of them, and I would like to get the other one tonight. So we have a commitment from Madeline Negron, who is now the superintendent of New Haven Public Schools and a former Windham student, and lots of other things. She is committed to being one of the MCs, and we'd like to invite Mark Doyle to be the other. It's sort of, I told Tracy it's sort of like a public engagement proposal. But don't feel any pressure.
It's like having the kiss cam here all of a sudden. I don't know.
Yeah, I won't be doing that, but yeah.
Pending discussion of the honorarium, I'll be happy to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Beth. Oh, wait, there's a question. Back there, don't leave yet.
Yeah, it's a sort of maybe compound question. So first of all, is it the case that there is a lottery for the preschool program as well as the middle school? What do the combinations here mean for the lotteries? And are you telling us that the middle school will be 50% classes in Spanish, 50% in English throughout the whole school?
That was like a super triple compound question, and I love it. It was a good question. So I'm going to try to address each part. For the lottery for the preschool, currently we're still in a lottery model, right? And this would be, that if we do this conversion, that means that this would be the last year for the lottery into a two-way program for 4-year-olds, if that makes sense. Because we have to phase this out sort of slowly over time. Plus, we're also taking into account the change of the kindergarten age, which you'll hear more about in a minute. And then we're going to use from now until next year to explore what would be the entry criteria for a non-two-way program. Because the lottery program has a little bit different entry criteria than a one-way program. So we'd have to come back together and present that information. But it wouldn't be exactly lottery-based, no, because we wouldn't have the English-speaking group who's learning Spanish. It would be only Spanish speakers learning English, and they'd be entering by criteria that are defined by their need, right? But we don't have 5 classrooms, we have 2. So that's something we're going to explore. We plan to contact other programs that have preschools. That's our biggest kind of thing to do next. So that's the preschool. The middle school doesn't have its own lottery. The kids rise up. So there's no change there. We do have a wait list for any open seats, right? So if there's any attrition, if kids leave the district, then we have a wait list for each grade. And we contact parents on a rolling basis for any seats that open. As kids get older, there are criteria for entry because the academic demand in both languages is higher. So we do have to make sure that they have enough proficiency in both languages to enter. That's no different from most other dual language programs. The next question was, about the middle school. So if you remember my earlier presentation, as the dual language programs grow, each school becomes more heavily dual language. So at the elementaries right now, they're all almost 50% exactly dual language, basically with 2 strands. And the middle school would be the same over time. Right now, we're at 5 out of 11 classes, I think, or 5 out of 10. I think you have the number.
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10 because we collapsed one of the.
Right.
Right, we collapsed some of them. So 4 out of 10 in 6th grade, it will change over time, right, to be more and more equally dual. And the last question was 50% or English, right, English and Spanish. So right now we try to maintain the 50%, 50-50 model. For time spent in Spanish and time spent in English. That means at the middle school, certain subject areas are taught in Spanish and certain subject areas are taught in English. And from year to year, we try to alternate some of those. So ELA is always in English. SLA is always in Spanish. Science varies from year to year. Social studies varies from year to year, 6, 7, 8. And then we have, did I hit them all? What was the other one? Math. Kind of important. Yep. Math is usually delivered in English, and that also has to do with the fact that our core program right now is available only in English and tested in English. So math usually remains in English at this point. Did I get them all? I think so.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, Beth. Last but not least in my report, I had hoped to come here tonight to verify who might be joining me for the visit with Representative Curry on December 13th. Only we learned this morning that Representative Curry and other state legislators are not available on December 13th because they're going to be across the street at Eastern Connecticut doing a budget roundtable. So we are in the process of trying to reschedule his visit to sometime in January. I'll keep you posted. We only learned of this morning.
And people may remember that Representative Curry is the co-chair of the legislature's Education Committee, and he wants to come tour our schools, which would be very good for Windham and funding potential and support potential at the state level. So I hope when we get rescheduled date that a couple of us from the board can be present. We'll let folks know. Thanks.
Thanks. The only other thing I have is just I would like to propose that we move one of the agenda items up on the discussion because we do have a large number of folks here from Windham's Phoenix Academy, and I'd like to
I
get
was
them.
just about to propose that, given the large showing from Phoenix Academy, this is the first installment of what's cool in our schools, and we're going to be hearing from each school throughout the year. And so I'd entertain a motion to move item D under discussion up to first on the agenda under discussion.
So moved.
Motion made by Mark,
Second.
seconded by Brendan. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay. So under discussion items, we're going to have the first installment of What's Cool in Our Schools.
We'll hand it over to Mr. Matt Harnett, the principal of Phoenix Academy.
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm really excited to talk about this because I get to talk about what I love, and I've brought many of the people with me that I love, and I've gotten to know very quickly here. And I know, but it's way below me, so, you know, I need a boom mic. Can you get on that, please? All right.
People on TV can't hear you unless you talk into the mic.
Aliki, can you hear me? Thank you. That's my bestie. But anyway, I'm very excited to be here. You know, I appreciate so long ago it seems like so long ago when I was standing before you asking for this to be renamed because we needed to rebrand because it was creating culture and it was creating community. And we are so far ahead of where I thought we would be at this time of year that I'm really excited because I think the sky's the limit with this. And where we can go and what we can do with the kids and the families that we're working with now is really, really exciting. And I'm going to throw some stuff at you kind of quickly because I have brought a pretty good contingency with me that I want you to hear from because it's my kids and it's also their parents. And I think it's better for you to hear from them than it is for me. But I do want to say a couple different things about it, you know, because, you know, our students need an opportunity. And that's what Phoenix Academy is for them. And they need an opportunity to kind of rise above the limitations and the structures that have been put in place by traditional schools because it just doesn't work for them. And that's what Phoenix Academy provides, is that opportunity. Because our kids are incredibly intelligent and capable of achieving at a high level. And they're showing that to me day after day after day. And you get a lot of data about attendance. And, you know, over the last couple of days, I've been pulling apart a bunch of different numbers. And, you know, like I said, given the right opportunity and given the right environment, these students have shown to me that they'll buy in. And they'll do what we ask them to do. You got to realize, I mean, you know, we have a small number of kids right now, and actually, since the beginning of the school year, we've actually doubled our population in the Phoenix Academy, and there's actually now starting to be a waiting list because kids are asking, and the kids are saying to the counselors and other teachers at the high school, "Can I go there?" I think that's the greatest compliment we can get in the world. Is like they're like, "I don't know if this is working for me. Is there other options?" And now they're starting to ask, and there really, truly is a waiting list. But when you look at it like, you know, one or two kids can affect our attendance one way or the other. But when you get the numbers for chronic attendance and you look at that list, the Phoenix Academy leads the district in chronic attendance because we're at like 77%. But you got to realize that when the kids come to us, they are already chronically absent. They've already missed 18 or more days of school because they just haven't been going. And they're not buying in, they're disenfranchised, they're disconnected, and they're not invested, and they're just not buying into their own education. So what I tend to focus on more so is the daily attendance rate. And for the last 2 weeks, our daily attendance rate has been north of 70%. And for a group of kids who don't typically come to school, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I mean, you know, I have some kids whose daily attendance rate when they were at high school was 5%. And some of them are now coming 50, 60% of the time. And that in itself is a huge win. because we can get work out of them, and they're starting to buy in. You're going to hear from some kids tonight, because I have, let's see, right now, we have potentially 6 students who are on course to graduate this second semester. In the last 5 years, only 2 kids have graduated from the program previously. And so this year we might have 6, possibly 7. We have 4 kids who got back on track who were behind in credits, have now caught up and are tracking towards their graduation date of next year in June. And I have another 4 kids who, if they get what they get done this semester, they're going to join that group and be back in their cohort and get back on track as well. It's exciting. It really is. And they get excited about it. I have it on the wall in my office. Dr. Youngberg sees it every time she comes. We have dates, we have numbers, we put it up there, and the kids come in, and the kids will literally come in and go, I got one, and they'll change the number. And it's really fun to watch because they do get excited about it. The other thing that I just want to do quickly as well is, one of the things that I think is really important is also making sure we're communicating with the families, and you'll see and you'll hear from them in a minute too. At the end of September, I met with the teachers, and we were talking about parent communication. Now, we've had 63 days of school. You take away the first 20 days of school, and you start with October 1st, which is when we started really stepping up with our parent communication. And the goal that I set for the teachers was that I wanted every family and every kid to get 2 phone calls a week. I wanted one in the beginning, I wanted one at the end, and I wanted it to be from different people. So my teachers got together and they created this great Google form, and you would love it because it's right up your numbers alley, because it spits it all into a spreadsheet and gives it back to me. Since October 1st to today, it's been 63 days of school, and like I said, if you wipe away the first month of school, we're down to 43 days. There are 39 different points of communication where my teachers have had contact with the family directly of talking about what their kid's been doing in school, how they've been achieving, what they can do. You know, it's not negative. That's the thing, it's all positive. We talk about, you know, they're coming. You know, your student was here 4 days this week, and here's the work they got done, and this is what was really great. You know, and it's just, the buzz is fantastic. And I think you can kind of see, too, when you look here and you see the people who showed up to kind of talk about this place, and I'm going to turn it over to them in a minute, you're going to hear some things. And it's what we're doing, and it's what it's all about. And it's such an opportunity, and I'm so excited to grow this. I'm really disappointed the state guides didn't come next week, because one of the things was, if I had an unlimited budget, what would I do? That's a loaded one to put in front of me, you know, because you think you're building a nice K4 building, wait till you see what you give me in a couple years, because it's going to be fantastic, you know. Anyway, Sherry, why don't you and your mom come on? Come on, you guys can go first.
They've been smiling back there all day. Yeah.
They're my people. I mean, they're so good. So anyway, this is Sherry Goss, who is now back on track to graduate. Come on, you can be here. Back on track to graduate. She's talking about college. She's talking about post-secondary work. She's got a little bit to say. She's also shaking like a leaf. And then her mom's got a couple things to say. You can talk. Yes, it is. So you can just talk about where you were, but we have you on now.
So I was supposed to graduate in 2025, yeah? 2025. And I'm getting a whole school year done in about 5 months so I can get on track to graduate this year. Well, next year basically, but this year. And I used to not go to school, and now I do because they support me, like the support I need, and that's where I go.
This program is good for Sherry. She never went to school in high school. Her grades were very bad. We got her into this program. She is graduating. Exciting. I'd rather see her in this program than the high school. It wasn't fit for her. She has anxiety. The classes are way too big. Too much going on. She's better off where she is right now, and she's wonderful.
After about 1 week, Sherry walked into my office and sat down and looked at me and she said, "Do you think I can graduate?" That's why you're here, you know. And then we made a plan, and it's the plan that fits for her. And she's bought into it, and she's not kidding. Like, she leaned into some of the work we put in front of her, and she cranked out some classes unbelievably quick and got right back on track where she's going to graduate in June. The thing I have to do with her sometimes is I have to slow her down and tell her to take a breath, because she's that motivated right now, and it's phenomenal. And she's talking about college and nursing school. I don't think she understands how hard nursing school is, but that's a different conversation. Trinity. Come on, Trinity. You and Mom, if you want to come down. Come on. You're okay. Go ahead. This is Trinity Correa.
Hi, I'm Trinity. So I'm a senior, and I was in the high school until the middle of my sophomore year. And the reason why I switched to, it was core at the time, is because I needed credit recovery, and the high school just wasn't giving me the right support that I needed. And I feel like it's like that for a lot of the students in the high school. They really struggle a lot academically, and there's not enough support. So when I went to core, it was very different than Phoenix Academy, how it is this year. There wasn't a lot of support still. They tried, but they just didn't understand what the students' needs were. And I feel like Phoenix Academy is just way better than core in the high school in general. Because like he said, the staff call family to ask about us and let them know how we're doing. And our principal, he actually has meetings with all of the students, and he makes sure that everybody is involved, staff and students. And he just really inspires us to like stay motivated and do better. They just care about our well-being and future. There's also this thing called Project Emo. I don't know if the high school's involved with it, but they talk to us about a teen center, and I think it's 14 up to 21-year-olds. And it's just a really good opportunity to get into the community and be a better person. It's just, they help with your future and your career, and it feels genuine, like people actually care about our well-being. We have more access to the building, and it's easier to just stay focused, with that being said, and find better working spaces. They provide for us mentally, spiritually, and physically here at Project Emo, and they give us the breaks that we need, like if we need to take walks or anything like that. The principal just tries really hard to do what's in our best interest, and it's amazing. He's a really good principal. Thank you.
I have to say this year, I love the Phoenix Academy. Previously, it was not as wonderfully structured as it is now. I enjoy getting the weekly phone calls. The teachers care. Mr. Harnett cares. And the Phoenix Academy, I see that it's going to be wonderful. Thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to add one more thing. I feel like it's really important who leads, and this year, as Mr. Harnett has been leading the program, he has not only inspired the staff, but he has also inspired the students as well, and it's just really great.
Thank you. I owe her a lot of money. Anyway, one thing she did mention that I had kind of left out was our partnership with Project Emo. Project Emo, Jason Highland and Dave Howes are the people that we've worked with, and they come to our building every Thursday and work with our kids. We have some trips planned with them, but they're doing a lot of stuff as far as some, personal skill building and social emotional work that they come and do within our building. But the other piece that they're really working on is a lot of that is we're getting the kids thinking about post-secondary. Where are they going? What are they doing? And you know, what kind of bothered me at first when I first got connected with some of these kids is they couldn't see past that. They hadn't thought about it. And I don't think anybody had really taken the time to have conversations with them about, okay, once you get your diploma, what's the plan? And so we're putting all that together, and we're also getting them out in the community. We're starting to connect them with some different groups and different, you know, businesses and things like that to get them to explore some careers. We're also having conversations with them about school. You know, it's kind of neat. And Dr. Youngberg and I had talked about it. I think sometime later this year, it might not be a bad idea for myself and the Project Emo guys to come and talk to you a little bit more, because I really do think this is something that could grow and help a lot of our students and also be integrated in a lot of the schools in the district. And I think it would be really great, really at almost every level, but really starting in the middle school and working its way up through the high school.
Yeah, and Project Emo is actually working with other buildings in the district as well, so it is a great opportunity for the board to learn all about what the students are having access to.
No, it's great. It's good stuff. It really is. They have a lot of fun with it. This is Chloe McClintock. It's her mom, Christina. Her mom, Christina, is actually also a district employee. Her mom is the nurse at the high school. Well, they did. It's okay.
Hi, everybody. This is Chloe.
You can go first.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to hide behind them? Okay.
So, my husband, Dan, and I, Chloe is our youngest. Our girls, we've lived in Windham forever. Our girls went to Windham Center School and then to Barrows. Our 18-year-old went to Windham Tech. Chloe, we decided to go to E.O. Smith. So Chloe, 16-year-old junior at E.O. Smith. And over the last 3 years with her being at Smith, we saw her grades go down. Her isolation, her self-isolation went up. Absences went up. This past year from E.O. Smith, she was out 25 days. And as a parent, there's just no support. 25 days. And working at the high school and seeing the truancy and seeing the problems and feeling helpless as a parent, you can't do anything if your kid says to you, I'm not going. What do you do with that? Can't put her in the car. Can't put her in the car.
She's tiny.
No. So we started looking for alternative schools, and one of the alternatives would have been homeschooling. Like, how are we going to do this? So I started looking for support. I actually called Matt, and we started looking at curriculum, and a concern was behaviors at core, like coming from the high school core. Was kind of a scary thought about putting our daughter at core. So after we went to an open house, we met with Project Emo, we talked with Matt endlessly about curriculum, and really then taking it to Chloe and saying, hey, Chloe, like, let's try this. And she decided to go. So I think the things that we like as parents about the Phoenix Academy is the student-teacher ratio and the support that she gets and the other students get. The social worker still checks in frequently. I get frequent emails throughout the week. The excitement about Mr. Harnett, Chloe pulling up the first day and him outside being, Rocky, she's here. Cartwheels? It was cartwheels? Okay. So that's a victory for us. So self-paced learning with instruction. Since starting to attend the Phoenix Academy, that's probably been a month, I would say a month. Right. So less screen time. This is at home. She's out of her room. She is interacting with family. Her self-esteem is rising. Actually, today she said she remembered what it felt like to be smart. Yeah. Increased attendance, decreased tardiness. Dan has brought her a couple times to school, but she's gotten there. She gets on the bus. Thank you. Decreased fighting at home, like the stress has been relieved at home. Are you sure you don't want to read this? You're going to read it? No. Okay, so this is Chloe's word, so bear with me. She said, I have been going to E.O. Smith for the past 2.5 years, and attending school daily felt like a draining challenge. Before high school, I had always been an A and B student with perfect attendance. Once I started attending E.O. Smith, my grades dropped horrendously, and I stopped going to school. My grades were dropping, and I just felt dumb. Going through school, I'd always felt I'd been smart, and feeling dumb made school undoable. Deciding to attend Phoenix Academy was a life-altering decision that put me back on track. I now attend school feeling wanted every day. These educators have made learning fun again. The kindness that surrounds this school is impeccable. My grades are now all high A's and B's, and I attend school on time and daily. I thank all of my new educators and Mr. Harnett for bringing school back to life for me. That's all I got. Okay.
You just made me cry. Thank you.
It's a special place. It's unique. I tell these guys that all the time. And some of them, when I first met them, were like, how do I get back to the high school? How do I get back to the high school? Well, by the middle of October, the conversation changed to, can I stay? Can I stay? And I wouldn't trade any of them for anything. You have in front of you 3 honor roll students now. They're on the honor roll. All 3 of them have the ability and capabilities to go to college. Whether or not they choose to, that's going to be up to them, but they have that choice. And we're making that path for them, and we're going to help them get on it, and we're going to make them do whatever they want to do. They're going to have that opportunity, and we're going to guide them to it and help them lay out that plan. This is exciting. We're having a ton of fun with this. I do want to take a second and realize, Stacy Johansson, who's our special ed teacher, you can stand up. Michael Mastry, who's our social studies teacher. We also have Ethan Thompson, who's the science teacher, and I do want him to come down. Come on. Joanna Keel, who is the social worker. And one teacher, he had a prior family commitment, Mr. Ewings. He's our English teacher. He couldn't be here tonight. He really wanted to be, and he's upset that he couldn't be. But I just want to give him a shout out too, because they're all part of the team. I am blessed. I am very fortunate. I got to work with this team. I got to hire some of them. I inherited one, but it's okay. He's a good guy. But they've all bought into what I've laid out in front of them. And I'll give you an example. On Mondays is the typical district meeting day. And these guys are more than willing to sit with me. And one day on Friday, we got into a conversation at the end of the day, and we sat down at the table in the conference, and we started talking about some of the things we wanted to do and some of the things we wanted to accomplish. It was Friday. They stayed for an hour and a half after school and met with me and did plans and talked about things we want to do and where we want to take it. And I didn't ask them, and they just did it. That's the commitment they give. That's what they want to do with this program. They know just as well as I do the opportunity that we have in front of them to build something special and something that we can really, be very, very proud of, even more so than we are already now. And I wanted Mr. Thompson to say a couple words, because he's actually, while he is the youngest teacher in the program, he's also the veteran teacher from the program, because he's been teaching he started out teaching in the Corps, actually, when it was housed here, and now he's with us in the Phoenix Academy. And, as you said, you had Trinity, who had gone to the high school, was in the Corps program, and is now in Phoenix. And you have, Chloe, who came from outside of the school district into the district and is in the Phoenix program. And, you heard from Sherry, who, went through the middle school and was a Windham student all along. And that was kind of why I gave you that perspective, so you could kind of see, these are all the different kids that are sitting in front of us. And we can do different things with them. But I do want to give you a chance, and then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you, everybody. Like Mr. Harnett said, my name is Ethan Thompson. I'm the current science teacher at Phoenix Academy, and I was with CORE for 2 years. I was actually hired onto CORE. I applied for a couple positions in Windham, but Josh Vanosky at the time swooped me up. I have been able to see a couple different administrations come through, and a whole bunch of different teachers come through. In that time, Mr. Harnett was alluding to the culture and the community that we've built. We never really were able to get a solid culture. We were never able to really get a community building up around the students, around the people that we were working with. This year, you can sense the difference in every way, shape, and form. You can feel it, you can hear it, you can almost smell it. I think that might just be the building, though. It has some interesting smells sometimes. It's an older room. But it's all, not a bad one, not always, but, but it's all geared around the people in this program. We have staff that is willing to do whatever these kids need to see that they succeed. We have parents, like we said, we've been communicating with the parents almost constantly, who are doing everything they can to help their kids get here and succeed. And more importantly than any of that, we have a bunch of students who are more driven than any I've ever seen. Like we were talking about Sherry and Trinity and Chloe. They come to school and they want to do as much as they can. I have never seen students who are truly asking me for more work than I have prepared or ready to give out at a time. I'm like, okay, well, let's run with this. Let's go as far as we can. And that is something truly, truly special. Altogether, we are building and fostering this commitment to community and this commitment to our culture. And we have, I'm familiar with all the students in CORE now, or in the Phoenix Academy, because they were with us during CORE. And there isn't a single student in that program now that I was not formally involved with when they were at CORE, which for most of them who are with us who aren't new, that is most of their high school years. And the change in them has been drastic because they've seen the same things I have. And as Trinity alluded to, it wasn't always great. We tried our best, but it wasn't always perfect. It wasn't always great. And they are they're shifting into a new gear. They are sensing this drive to succeed, and they are buying in hook, line, and sinker. They are going as fast and hard as they can as well. And that has built this culture that can't help but succeed. And we get new students like Chloe, we get new students like Sherry who fold into this and are surrounded by parents, staff, and students who want their kids to succeed and are giving them the tools to do so, giving them the space they need when they need it, and giving them the support they need at all times. So overall, I'm just really excited for what this has taken off to, and I appreciate Matt for letting me talk for a little bit here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Harnett. Thank you, everyone.
No, I just want to say, too, not only is this about opportunity, but it's also about hope. Because you have some kids, you also have some parents sitting here who, when we first met, were a little hopeless. They were at the end of their rope, and they didn't know which way things were going to go, and they weren't sure if kids were going to graduate, and they weren't sure what was going to happen. And they've bought into us, and we've bought into them. And the partnership we have, it's going to take these kids places, and we're going to do some great stuff. And I appreciate the time, and thank you very much. We're going to go because it's past my bedtime.
Thank you, thank you. Before you all go, I just want to say that we chose, each board member was assigned a school ambassador position, and I had my first visit at Phoenix about a month ago, and I can't wait to be invited back to events and things that you have there so I can continue to be a good ambassador and bring the story of Phoenix out into the community. So thank you very, very much, and all of you for coming, and you don't have to stick around if you don't want to. Tracy, you want to say anything?
Just that I really appreciate you all being here and being open and honest about your journey, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go back up to, the Windham the kindergarten legislation. Who's
right.
going to be?
So that's going to be
Liz?
our Director of Elementary Education, Liz Baumgartner, is going to do the presentation for you. And thank you, Liz, for patiently waiting your turn. Appreciate it. She's going to give the board the update. So I'll hand it over to you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So this is really an informational session just in regards to the new legislation that has taken hold. So this is our new kindergarten entry age Connecticut Legislation Public Act number 23-208. And so we just felt it was important because the change is coming that we really inform the board and most importantly begin to talk to our families and our community regarding the change. It does affect some of our students, not all, but we do want our families to have that information as soon as possible. And so we started attending EastCon sessions and talking to other districts just to begin to learn more about exactly what the impact is regarding this legislation. So the new Connecticut kindergarten age requirements, beginning with the 2024-2025 school year, children need to turn 5 years old on or before September 1st in order to be automatically eligible for kindergarten. This is a change from the current kindergarten cutoff date of January 1. Okay? So the new Connecticut kindergarten age requirements have the following stipulations. If a child does not meet the new entry cutoff date, he or she may still be admitted into kindergarten upon, 1, a written request from the parent or guardian, and an assessment completed by the school that determines admitting the child to kindergarten would be developmentally appropriate. Now, one of the things that you need to note at the bottom here is, though the assessment is a requirement, the state Department of Education did not provide districts with any guidelines at this time regarding the assessment. That is what we're attending and going to now in talking with other districts and other, just in regards to other contexts that we have to compare and look at other things that we could possibly use for those assessments. So this is just informational purposes that an assessment does have to be done. Somebody click, okay. Not the one before. Hold on. Okay. If the child receives special education services and does not meet the new entry cutoff, the child's planning and placement team, or PPT, will review and revise the child's individualized education program to meet the child's needs during the additional year of preschool. So we are working with our SPED department and also the EME department because there are things that come to play, such as a lottery that comes up later, and also in this case, for the IEP for students. Please note, parents may submit a written request for their child to be admitted into kindergarten if they do not meet the new entry cutoff date. This is in regards to special education. The school will complete an assessment to determine whether admitting a child to kindergarten would be developmentally appropriate. So Windham Public Schools district response to Public Act 23-208. So for those students who will not turn 5 until after September 1st, Windham Public Schools will have an appeal process in place for families who wish to have their child enter kindergarten for the 24-25 school year. That is something we have to do. Every district will be doing that. So there is an appeal process for those families who do want their child to be considered for the waiver. We expect the appeal process to open up after January 15th, 2024, and the process will include a written appeal, an assessment of the student by the Teaching and Learning Department in collaboration with our elementary schools, and a discussion with the family. The appeal process will close on March 15th, If you do not appeal the process by the deadline, then your child will begin kindergarten in September 2025. Information regarding the appeal process and assessment days will be shared with the community in January 2024. Part of that is that we're still not, today I actually attended an EastCon meeting, and out of all of the districts there, one currently has the assessment that they're going to provide for their appeal process, and it's an assessment they actually currently use and have used in previous years, but most districts are still in the phase of trying to figure out the best case scenario for those assessments. We will communicate directly with preschools, daycare centers, and other community resources to reach our families. The district will make every effort to notify families promptly of a decision to allow families time to plan for the education or care of their children for the 24-25 school year. So here's how we are assisting our families through this change. We're using multiple communication strategies to share information with our families. That will include currently our website, ThrillShare, school social media pages, and WCC and other community centers. Information our families, we're going to be informing our families early so that they can plan accordingly for childcare if their child falls between the September 2nd, 2024, December 31st, 2024 birth dates. And there is the website that the state has provided, that is for the search211childcare.org, which provides information for families. We also have how can our families support their child's learning and development before the transition to kindergarten. And so families can support learning through the day by sharing new words, reading with your child, asking questions, and playing. Begin planning how, and when they will talk to their child about their transition to kindergarten to ensure a positive experience. And then check out the Hello Kindergarten brochure for more ideas in supporting their child across different areas of learning. You should have received tonight a packet. It has the Hello Kindergarten information brochure that comes from the State Department of Education. There is a Spanish version of that. And also you should have received the letter that there is the State Department of Education letter that provides the general information. It should look like this. There's an English and a Spanish version. This particular flyer or information is actually being delivered to all schools tomorrow through our inter-office mail system, but copies have been made for every family at all elementary schools and including Barrows and WECC. We've also made copies for our community-based centers. We'll be dropping those off to be able to communicate that information with them, just so they also can have the information that our own WCC center is receiving along with all our elementary schools. We wanted to make sure that every family received it because it's really about word of mouth. We recognize that not all of our families have a kindergarten entering student, right? But they have a TT, they have a grandmother, they have a friend. Oh, my neighbor's child might be going to kindergarten. The more we share this information, the better for our community. So we're trying to do kind of an overload on that so that they have that information.
Liz? Dionisi has a question for you.
Thank you. Is this information available in social media or any online via that, gets faster and larger audiences?
You mean for, well, the State Department does have, so this actually came.
Here in our area, do we have like any site online or any message that
it will be on everything will be, we wanted to share this with you tonight, and then it will be on our website. So you'll be able to click that. Yep. And what our hope is that once we share it out as well, schools also have their own social media pages. So the more, it's like the share. That's what we're hoping happens.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Actually, that's
Okay.
the basic information regarding the bill. It really was just to make sure that you were aware of what was taking place. Dr. Youngberg, Neil, myself, Aliki, from WECC, we've met regarding, a communication plan. We really feel that that's probably one of the most important key elements in this, so that parents are not caught off guard. We want to make sure that they're aware, and we can give everybody, as many opportunities as they can to be able to ask the questions. As far as phone calls, I've received one phone call from a family that's moved in from Tennessee, actually, and their child turns their birthday September 24th, and the family actually said, oh, if my child was in November or December birthday, I probably wouldn't have called, but they're close to that September date, so I'd like more information. That's the phone calls that we've been receiving.
I think the more proactive we can be, the better, because I think there are going to be a lot of people who haven't been aware of the legislation and who are going to, come up to the summertime and springtime and have no idea that their
Right.
child will not be able to enter kindergarten unless they go through a process.
So the more we share that out, that's why we're starting now. We do know there's 32 children that are affected by the age at WECC, as shared by Aliki, and 26 students at community-based centers. So a total of 59, and 3 may ask for an appeal, 0 or 59, right? So we just want to be able to provide that information for our families.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Tracy.
Liz. Appreciate it.
And now we're on to the Windham Public Schools survey, which we were asked to give feedback on or ask questions about by the 29th of November, and now we're at the point where Tracy's going to be asking us, I'll hand it over to you.
So I didn't get any specific feedback from the board. So the questions that you have in front of you in your packet are the questions and the information that was generated and revised by the district survey committee, which there's actually some members in the audience. The district survey committee is has representatives from a number of our bargaining units and non-affiliated employees, and they really worked hard to make sure the questions were user-friendly, didn't in any way identify who might be answering the survey, and really will work to get us the information we need to help improve schools, departments, and the district in general. So these are the questions. With the board's vote tonight on the questions, we'll be able to start implementing the survey as early as tomorrow. I actually have to get out an all call and a message with a link to the surveys and all that. I've talked to the leadership team. We are giving a survey to all the families. We are giving surveys to students in grades 3 to 12 and our certified and non-certified staff. So we also have set some goals for participation rates with some incentives, hopefully incentives that don't cost the district a lot. Like I know the teachers really, really love the idea of not having a Monday meeting if their school meets the participation rate, and I'm good with that. That works for me, it works for our principals as well. Those kinds of things. We're actually thinking about offering some random gift cards to the families in each school that reach the participation rates. I have to figure out how to do that randomly, but that's the goal. My intention or my plan to make sure we hit those participation rates comes back to the idea that we want the survey data to be accurate. We want it to represent the people we are actually trying to get information from. So I don't know if there's any specific questions.
Thank you. Is this a survey available in Spanish?
Yes.
Perfect.
It is available in Spanish. We did not give you the Spanish version because I think Robinson is still translating it or checking the translation. Is it all done? It's completed. All right. Yes. So we have it in English and Spanish. Perfect.
Gracias.
Okay. Great.
Thank you. Any questions, comments for Tracy? No. I'm looking forward to hearing how this goes.
Our goal is to give you the survey data, have the district committee actually come probably to the last January board meeting, and the survey committee can give you the information and how we plan to respond to the survey data, and then we'll check back in at the end of the year.
This will be an action item later on the agenda. So now we're on to the proposed 24-25 district calendar, which is in our packets.
It's in your packet, and Mr. Weathers, if there's any specific questions, he chaired the calendar committee, which again has representation from all schools and departments. So if there's any questions, Neil can answer them.
Anybody have any questions on the proposed calendar? Or Neil, is there anything you want to say? Especially since we have a new board member, you might just briefly explain how the calendar is developed.
Okay, so the calendar, basically, we get a reference calendar from EastCon every year in early fall. Then we have representation from the teachers union, the administrators union, and we invite all bargaining units. We start with determining, based on the recommended dates, we determine as a group our district's first day of school and last day of school, which has to be 180 school days. From there, we insert our professional development days. A big teacher favorite, whenever possible, is the day after Halloween being a PD day. Just throwing that out there. That happened this year. And then from there, we try to set all the marking period dates and conference dates. As a matter of fact, I think you have a revised, updated, because we had to move some conference dates thanks to a catch by one of our assistant principals, go Emily Milan. And so thanks to her. And then Janet Montalvo, who is here, I want to give her special thanks. She updated the template, which is new, and it has information like the start dates and early dismissal dates, which we haven't had before. So I think that information in one place is very nice. So thank you. And that's it.
Are there any questions or comments on this? Okay, thank you very much for all the work that went into putting this together. This is another action item for our agenda this evening. And then we have a budget transfer report.
We actually have some late-breaking information about that, so I'm going to let Rita take it over.
Okay, Rita. Rita is our money person.
She's our Director of Finance, or Associate Director of Finance.
Important person to know.
So I talked to Mark earlier. We finished the excess costs 2 days after I prepared this transfer, so it's no longer needed because when we finished the excess costs, we noticed that we were getting more from the state. So you don't have to approve that transfer.
Thanks, Rita.
Okay. Wow. What do you think of that, Mr. Finance Chair?
That is the fast-acting action of the Finance Committee, that's all I can say.
See why they made you the...
Okay, so now we're on to committee reports, and we have a report from Brendan from School Planning and Design.
Yes, so we've been very busy since our last board meeting, having met 3 times. We met right after the last board meeting for our regularly scheduled November meeting, where we discussed the elementary school consolidation, where we mentioned that we had another round of site visits planned for November 25th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving that morning. And then there was also a facilities update given on the elevator projects here at the middle school, which are running on schedule, as well as the North Windham School School-Based Health Center space. After that, we met again on the 25th, where we went on a tour of 3 possible sites for the new consolidated elementary school in town, along with Matt Vertifay from the town, who gave us some information on those sites. And then we met again earlier this evening before the board meeting to discuss what we found at these sites and start discussing where this future school may live.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
You know, I just want to thank Matt Vertifay and the staff at the town who have been very helpful in helping us along with this project and making sure we find the right location and that this works for us. Thank you, guys.
Seeing no questions, thanks for your leadership. Thanks, Brendan. And now we're on to action items. I'd like to ask for an amendment to the agenda. I'd entertain a motion for an amendment to add action on to recognize and accept a donation that's being offered to Windham High School soccer program, and I can give you more information on that if somebody would make the motion.
So moved.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Second by Brendan. Alicia was trying to beat you to that. Any questions on adding that to the agenda for an action item? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Okay, Ilda raised her hand. So that's added to the agenda, and when we get to that item, I'll explain more. So first item under,
Madam Chair,
yes?
Real question, do we have to make also an amendment to the action items for eliminating the vote to, for the budget transfer? No?
No, we're just not going to
Thank
act
you.
on it. Thank you, though, for asking. You've got to keep the chair on their toes. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to vote on the draft, to approve the draft Windham Public School survey questions. Motion made by Mark. Do I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Paula. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. You want to vote or abstain?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Okay, Dionisi is abstaining. Everybody else voted yes, including Ilda. I saw her hand. Now I'll entertain a vote on the proposed district calendar for 2024 to approve that calendar. Motion made by Ilda.
Second.
Seconded by Alicia. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the calendar, please indicate by raising your hands. It's unanimous. And then finally, this is late breaking. We did get a donation from the Bank of America Charitable Foundation via Al Korzinski, whom many people know, to donate $1,000 to Windham High School soccer program, and 500 of it would be for high school for jackets, hoodies, or any spirit wear at the discretion of the athletic director for the boys varsity soccer. And then the other 500, no, that's just for general. And then the varsity soccer boys team would get $500 to be spent at the discretion of the athletic director. So I'd entertain a motion to accept that donation.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Paula.
I second.
Seconded by Dionisi. That's your first second. Yay. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor of accepting that donation, please indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. And now we're on to public comment. Is there anybody who would like to speak during public comment at the end of the meeting? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:19.
I move, we move.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.